Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Sorry that we're a little bit late, but hey, listen, it's the summer months, and we have another fantastic edition of Bar Talk. We have something that I'm going to ask you right now to tell a friend. Just glue them to your, if it's your iPad, your iPhone. I'm going to make sure to turn off mine right now. I hear it going off. Watch this. Yes, because as a people, we hear about, even from Jamaica, Voodoo, Obeah, Blackmagic, all of that kind of stuff. And some of us just dismiss it as, chop, nothing serious. We have a guest, and we have a returning guest and a special guest for you this evening that's going to give you an insight, open your mind on stuff that you never thought was possible. But just before that, let me just take care of some housekeeping. Of course, you know, Bar Talk, which is this evening program on a Sunday afternoon, is brought to you by Moment to Remember Studio. It's the one-stop shopping for all things photo, video, and print. So if you have a passport picture or you have your next major event, give us a call. Please do not talk to us about money. Talk to us about your vision. Let us help you make your vision into a reality. And then we'll talk about what does it take to make that reality happen. Of course, this is brought to you by the #1 platform for all things Jamaica, the Caribbean, to the world. We have people watching from as far as Ghana. We have people calling from China, and of course, Fort Lauderdale and all over the place. We're talking about Jamaicans.com. You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/One Love Jamaica. All written out. Jamaicans.com says facebook.com/One Love Jamaica. And although it says Jamaicans.com, remember, it is to the world. We have over 500,000 followers. That tells you that we're not just local, but we seek to bring you information that will encourage, enlighten, and sharpen your wits on anything. This evening, I would like to first of all, I'm doing the switcheroo from last week. I'm going to ask Jim Hepburn, who's here from last week, to introduce my beautiful and wonderful, our beautiful and wonderful guest this evening. Jimmy, go ahead.
Well, hello again, Luke. Thank you for having me, and I'm really excited to be here. And the guest that I have for you tonight is a very interesting testimony of how she went from being a superstar to being on the floor, to having the grace of God, and going from being demonized to getting freedom and finding grace from the Lord. And so she's from Haiti, and she's gone through an incredible journey that I believe could inspire a lot of people and make a lot of people that probably find the subject a little taboo, understands that there's some real things out there in the world. And if you're not aware, if you don't know, then you may want to know, because it's real and it's happening all around. So my guest today is Vanessa. She's a singer, she's an artist, and she decided to stop singing for the world and to start singing for the Lord. So that's my guest today.
Vanessa.
Good evening, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here tonight. Good evening to you, and also good evening to Jimmy. Thanks for having
Jimmy,
me.
go ahead. Go ahead. Now, Vanessa, listen, you just can't come up in here and just be all smiles, and we don't get to know a little about you. Tiffany, blessing, good evening. I have people already blowing up the thing. I'm having Creta Turner, Angela Daly, Forbes. We just started, and there are people who are lining up. Red Fox, hey, from Sunrise, Tiffany Gar. Oh, folks, I forgot to mention, just tell us where you're coming from so we can pretty much say hi to you and know which part of the world you're coming from. So I appreciate it. Nadia Smith Davis, interesting. Watching from Ghana, West Africa. And now I'm going to pause because tell me if I'm saying the name right or wrong. It's first of all, it's spelled, so the audience can help me here. It's spelled Agblevar, Francis. Agvalier, Francis, would that be correct or
Sounds
close?
pretty close.
Pretty close, from Ghana. Okay, Karen Campbell is watching. Garfield Minot is watching. Tiffany Gardner. Greetings from Green Acres,
Amazing.
Kingston, Jamaica. Nicole Leticia is from New York. Whoa, this thing is hot already.
We're hot.
So hey, listen, back Kevin, just put the camera back on Vanessa because I'm gonna call her out right now. Talk to us. We pride ourselves in chatting up to people as to where they're coming from and find out a little bit about them. No, we like to call people fake Jamaican or fake this or fake that. Are you real Haitian or fake Haitian?
I'm a real Haitian. I was.
And that you were born in Haiti?
Born in
Tell
Haiti.
us about that.
Yeah, so I was born in Haiti, raised here in the U.S. At the age of 11, I came to the United States. At the age of 4, I started singing. You know, I was very passionate about music, and it really started from church. From there on, I grew on to over here to the U.S., where I joined a lot of after-school communities where they do a lot of singing, recording, and that's where really I fall in love with music. And from there on, I went ahead and recorded with a lot of other record labels, where we did, you know, videos. And after that, we decided to take a break when it comes to the music world, and we, you know, have our family and children. And then finally, back in 2019, I decided to take over the music scene and follow the dream that I once had once I was a child. And that's where it all started for me, you know, being very serious about music, going into the world and performing every state, from state to state, and dealing with, you know, what we're going to go into as far as the subject of demons.
Demons, okay.
Yes.
So let me just jump back in because sometime when I heard about her singing and she's now singing in the church, I kind of was trying to figure what kind of singer were you? Because too often when somebody try a thing on the world and didn't work, they jump back in the church. But folks, I'm going to play this video for you. Kevin, give them about 30 seconds of that video. This woman can sing. She is an acclaimed performer. Go ahead, Kevin. So we're not talking about somebody who has not had a serious music career. Vanessa, talk to us. Where did it shift it from that very polished, as far as I'm concerned, amazing talent to what we're talking about now? To the Jamaican call it Obeah, Haiti we call it Voodoo or demon, so forth. Talk to us a little bit where that went.
I think for me, it all started while I was in the scene, in the night scene of performing every night. Sometimes, you know, when you deal with the music industry, it's very demonic. It either goes two ways. It's either godly or demonic. There's not a choice in between. You know, for those artists who believe that they're neutral, there's no such thing as neutral. When you're an artist, you are an open vessel. That means that you gain inspiration that comes in, and it's your job to perfect that gift, and you give it to your audience. And I think for me, being around people that were very dark, being around people that were very envious, very, you know, jealousy, and it because of that, and because of where I was going at such a fast pace, it had a huge effect on them. And because of that, there were a lot of summons when it comes to demons. There were a lot of summons to sacrifice me, so that wouldn't make it as far as I
let me stop you a bit. And don't this is a free-for-all, so if you see me stop you, don't feel any way. And Jimmy, feel free to jump in.
Okay.
I understand there are a lot of haters when you're in the business. But somebody will sabotage you by saying something negative to your producer, your manager, or try to railroad you on getting a gig, so forth. But when you're saying there's no neutral balance in the music business, you're saying basically the music business as a whole at that level is subjected to demons?
That's correct. It is demonic because in the Bible, when it comes to music, we know that the devil, Satan himself, was the angel of music. And because of that, in the world that we live in today, he has a great influence. When you listen to the kind of music that are being played out there, it has an impact on a lot of people. Music has a choice to make you happy, and also has a choice to make you violent. And if you're listening to majority of what's going on out there, those music are about sex and drugs, it's not helping you to choose a a positive path rather,
I'm a child of God, so let me make that abundantly clear, first of all.
Okay.
But I'm going to challenge you because music has, and I'm challenging you because I want people to understand where you're going. I'm not
of course.
opposing, I'm challenging. And Jimmy, feel free, jump in. My thing is though, music has moods. If you hear me singing Bob Marley redemption songs, not even redemption songs, I'm in a good mood if I hear,
Absolutely.
But if you hear me singing as a Christian man, all pirates, yes, they're rabbi, you know I'm in a rebellious mood. And God forbid if you hear me start singing a chronics, left, right, just soldiers are come, then you know I am up to some kind of militancy. But I'm the same guy in the same spirit like the song you're about to sing,
Right.
that's part of my cute songs when I'm going to occasionally walk,
Right,
okay,
right.
that I listen to. So, but that has nothing to do with demons.
Of course.
And so I'm trying to see, for the person who's listening, I say, well, maybe I'm listening to a song and that's going to move me towards demons. Explain that to me, the difference.
Okay, so let's just say if you have an artist that's neutral. I'm going to take the example from me because that was my mindset going into the music industry. I was aware of the demonic, I was aware of the Illuminati, but that wasn't my thing. I wanted to do music that people could be uplifted from, and that could be love music. It doesn't necessarily have to be godly music. And that was the route that I want to go. I want to make the feel-good type of music for people. However, you are dealing with all different types of people in the industry. Whether it's producers, whether it's A&Rs, whether it's your managers, those people have demonic forces that are behind them. And even with the music that I made, it didn't have anything to do with, just being as vulgar. However, there were releases, demonic release from that song where people do hear that. When they do hear that song, there are different type of changes that they may encounter. But as for me, I didn't have that intention going into recording the song. Those were not my intention. But because I'm not in a godly path, and it's not like that, this is what I was called to do. And because of it, I'm led to that path. And I'm being used without my permission, without even knowing that that's what's happening to me, whether I like it or not, whether I know it or not.
When were you conscious that there was something that was odd about your disposition then?
It started with my encounter with God. That's where I started to.
So let me just cut you real quick. So in between, before your encounter with God, nothing you did, we are doing was seem abnormal then?
Absolutely not. It was normal to me. Every stage that I encountered, it was normal to me. Although it was an introduction, but it was something that I was going to new, but it was familiar.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the first time you realized that something wasn't really right, you said, was with a godly encounter.
It was,
talk to us about that.
So with my encounter, I was attacked in the spiritual realm. For those that don't know a lot about the spiritual realm, just to kind of give an idea, is we're all spirits. Okay, we are spirits that are living in the human body. So if that could help you guys a little bit. People will do things in the spiritual realm to manipulate. So for instance, if I want to put a spell on somebody, that is manipulating them to love me. That's something that has to be done in the spiritual realm to their spirit in order for it to manifest in the physical realm. So there was a case that happened to me, a situation that happens where there was some manipulation in the spiritual realm, whereas for me to be sick, because that will prevent me from performing and going, over the world and doing what I love to do. It all started when I started to become sick. I couldn't sing. I lost my voice. I was extremely ill. And it definitely did deter my performance. At that point, I went to seek outside. I went to seek a medium. Wanted to know what was going on with me at that point.
Why then, like most people, didn't you seek traditional medical help as opposed to a medium?
Because it was the way it wasn't something that it was medical. It needs medical attention. It didn't need medical attention. Even though I run the test through my doctors, there was nothing. everything was normal. So when you go to the doctor and you take all different type of tests and they're telling you you're fine, but you don't know that you're not fine. There's something wrong. There's something, deeper than that. So that's when you tend to seek on the outside, on the spiritual side. And that's what I did.
We'll come to that shortly. Jimmy, what's your observation on this?
Well, when we talk about the music, I remember when I had my encounter with Christ and I was new in the space and I was fasting a lot. I went to a wedding, and when I went to the wedding, there was a song that was playing, and it was a very very famous song from a group called Kassav in the Caribbean, from Martinique, and it's a song that I remember from over 20 years ago, and I started singing. And the song goes, Zoukla c'est médicament nouni, something.
I know that song. I know that song.
So as I'm singing the song, and mind you, I had the Holy Spirit's presence very, very intense at that time because I was a new Christian and born again and everything. And when I was about to say "Mwen malade," which is like I'm sick, because that's a part of the song, my hand just kind of went in my mouth like this, and it blocked it. It's like it wasn't even me. So it's like I was about to speak an affirmation that I am getting sick. And I realized, whoa, there's something seriously wrong about this song. And to find out later that, these guys did a pact with the devil, and there was a lot of talk about their success and how they went around the world, but there was some type of contract. So when you have, entities that are in control of this music, this space, and you speak in agreement with the words, you're creating a covenant, you're creating a contract, and it requires blood for it to manifest, for it to be real. So I understand what happens in the music space, based on the songs that we listen to, based on the different frequencies, frequencies that make you feel low, frequencies that make you feel high. All these things are a combination of things that are meant to affect us, meant to make us feel a certain way, make us make the wrong decisions, because the enemy can't really do nothing unless we do it to ourselves. And so it'll put you in a mood, it'll make you feel some kind of way, and you're not aware that it's happening to you. So from what she's talking about as far as influences in the music space, I've experienced it myself. Just being aware of what I should say or what I shouldn't say, or what the words are saying in between the lines, what affirmation words I'm pronouncing, I'm speaking out of my own mouth, that is literally a curse to myself.
So that more is in line with more I could understand, because my mother always say, you speak it into being. My mom has always said that to me, that you can speak things into being. And the more you sing certain things, and some of us will laugh because I like country music, but there's only certain type of country music I can sing, because some of them, where am I going to live when I got home? My woman done threw out everything I own. She got up and said, I wish you were dead. And if you start listening those songs long enough, you start feeling depressed. The thing I'm trying to get at, none of that in my mind is necessarily demonic. And I want to understand if demonic, and again, I'm coming because from a culture's perspective, Jamaica, Haiti has this thing with a heavy subculture presence, what they call it, Voodoo, demon, or Obeah. Anyway, so I'm wondering how much of that is a cultural entity that we find ourselves in, as opposed to something that really happened. It's kind of a challenge to you, but not necessarily being opposed to you. But let's just go through a couple of these folks, because they're calling from all over the place. Julianne Lee is from Miramar. Julianne, hey, how you doing? Long time no see. We got to talk. Elizabeth Jones from Fort Pierce. Elizabeth John is watching. Bring her on TV. Denise Buchanan is watching. Elizabeth John says hi. Elaine Rodney Murphy is watching. Angela Daly is watching. Tracy Ann Clark says, hey, good evening all from Hope Hills, North Carolina. People from all over the place. Lodrick Grant is watching. Verma Barnett is watching. Dolores White, Blossom Marshall, Vanessa Mills. Folks, thank you for watching, but I want you to join the conversation, because I'm going somewhere with all this. I'm going somewhere. If you see, it sounds like I'm challenging my guests. I am coming from a perspective where I want people to, this is the time you share with a friend and let them come on, because we could see it as a cultural entity. In certain places of Jamaica, you go, everything is Obeah. which is not a form of voodoo. We call it our demonism. Everything you do is has in that culture. There's nothing that is outside of that, and so the music business have always been said that there are some people. So I've heard it about people talk about allegedly that even Beyonce has sold herself to the devil, and a couple of these people have sold themselves to the devil to get where they want to go, and so for me it's still foreign, if you understand that. So I just want you to talk a little bit more about how you differentiate, like what Jimmy says, the moody gets in,
Of course.
as opposed to something that is identifiably demonic. Is there a difference?
There isn't a difference. It's just a terminology that's being used. I know that that's the terminology that I use for it, but someone can consider it to be cultural, if that makes sense. But to me, with the experience that I've had, I know that it's, to my knowledge, it's demonic, if that makes sense.
Got you.
Yeah.
Moving forward, though, you found yourself needing to make that transition.
Yes.
What give me some of the nuances of that?
What really led to that is death. I faced death. I was on my verge, and that one night on my bed, I encountered death, and I felt very cold. I knew that I was going to die, and I knew there was no way out of my situation other than God. Because really, I've tried everything. I've went to mediums. I went to,
like you said, yeah.
I went to mediums, and I've went to different voodoo priests, even priestess, and they've done a lot of ceremonies. They've done a lot of rituals to maintain me and make sure that I was back to life, but nothing was successful. So at that point, I knew I didn't have any other options but to try God. And I think that's why he found me, because even when in the midst of that night where I was cold and I was going to die, I didn't have anyone at the time. And luckily for me, someone reached out to me and invited me to church. And of course, I didn't want to go to church because I'm an artist. You know, you walk in church and people judge you. And I knew that because people do know me and they're going to know, okay, if Sherry's is in church, you know. I didn't want that. So they invited me to a house service, and I felt that was more comfortable to go. And that was where I had a servant of God that actually talked to me and kind of opened my eyes to certain things that was being said about my past, that which no one knew. So I knew there had to be some sort of a power there that's let her know. And I was being comforted because the word that I received was, my daughter, it's been so long since I've seen you, and I'm happy that you are in my presence today. And I know that it was something that I wanted to hear. I wanted to hear that I was wanted, and God saw me. He saw what I was going through. And ever since that day, you know, I've never looked back.
And I guess during the process then, now comes the challenges, now comes the attacks.
Yes, of course. Being in the world, you know, doing what I was up to do, whether I believe it or not, I was an agent, you know, and the more I was performing, the deeper that I got into wanting to make sure people love me. And if you want people to love you, there are certain things you want to do, there's a certain way you're going to want to dress, and you do have all ears around you say, hey, listen, this artist here is doing amazing. You want to make sure that you are exposed to that particular fan or their fan. You want to sell their fan. So there's a certain way you have to be. There's a certain way you have to dress. There's a certain way you have to talk. So all that is, you know, relations. So of course, you know, being an artist, you want to be the best. You're competitive. You fall into those type of tricks, those traps. And then as I dig deeper with all of that, it creates those.
I feel you.
Yeah.
Can you think of anything that you've been asked to do in the process of trying to get to the next level from the artist's point of view, or from management, or whoever is promoting you? Can you think of anything that they've asked you that kind of rub you the wrong way, that says that's not necessarily you?
Well, to start with, I was a tomboy. I used to dress and dance. You know, I had baggy clothes, and of course, men are not attractive to that. You know, there's nothing to be seen from there. And I was encouraged to dress, you know, more revealing. You know, reveal the breast part, reveal the buttocks, because those are the things that makes guys want to come to the shows. And if there's more guys, and of course there's going to be more girls, and promoters going to make money, so everyone gets to benefit from that artist. So that was one thing that at first I wasn't comfortable with, but I was aware if I'm going to go further in my career, that was something that I was going to have to do. And even making sure that my breast was uplifted and had
Yes,
to,
so that push you in a certain direction. Understood. Someone had, Tiffany says, history said that, and so Tiffany is looking at the fact that I mentioned about the Caribbean and as far as demons, voodoo, whatever you call it, and Gardner just reminded me that history says that voodoo is from the islands, but New Orleans has a strong pull far and influence way back before us. Somebody else said something else with regards to that. Jonah de la Plata says voodoo is a language brought from West Africa. People, in other words, she's saying that people have changed it to mean something else. And she said, in other words, some of the practices has nothing to do with demons. I'm not quite sure. She says voodoo is, and she gave me the other voodoo is a language brought over from Western Africa, religious tradition of former enslaved Africans throughout the American, South Central, It's a combination and clashing of culture and belief and praxis and means of survival. The manifesto for our ancestors, and well, she gives me all of that, that it comes from a background. I probably need to take some blame because I infused those two words, voodoo and Obeah, into the demonic thing. But rightfully, she's suggesting that those could be practices that people have from an ancestral thing. But what you're talking about is something that controls you that has nothing to do with any of those and pulls you in a certain direction or forces you to go in a certain direction. You went through a cleansing. What would you call it that? Kevin, I want you to play that video just for now for me, and then you can talk to us. What was that like?
Okay.
All right. Kevin, go ahead.
Angels of the Lord, pick up.
What?
Pick up. Pick this devil up. Pick this demon up. At the count of three. 1, 2, 3. Now, in the name of Jesus.
Yeah.
You get up.
Yeah.
However you guys enter that, you can't do nothing to me. You are too weak. Your power is not strong enough. Get up now. In the name of Jesus. Angels of the Lord, pick this devil up. Pick this devil up now.
Jesus! Fire! Fire!
Get up.
Jesus! Jesus!
Get up.
Jesus!
Get up.
Jesus!
This demon is deformed. Is a disembodied demon. And he has to find his way up. But don't worry. Hey, stand still. Stand still. Stand still. Now. Now.
Jesus.
You saw that, folks. Hopefully, I'm not muted. You saw that, folks. That's something that you see in a church revival. Talk to us about that, Vanessa, because that is one of those, when I looked at it and the contortion, can you recall what was going on to you at that time? And what was that? Give us a background for that. Yes,
of course. So during that moment, I didn't have control of my body. My spirit is there in my body, but there's an entity that takes over me. Again, these are the entities that takes over when you're performing. You're not yourself. Every artist who's on stage, they're not their regular selves as a regular person. So you have to take on form. You have to take the shape of an artist. And this is where you're an open vessel. So it's either whose side are you on, because you're open for anything to come in and place whatever that they want to place and make a meaning out of what your performance is supposed to be. So that's what you saw there as far as that entity goes. But how this started is just, me being committed and wanting to serve God. I didn't look back. Once I received the prophecy of, because I refused to sing for the Lord, a lot of people were held captive because of that. So I felt that I had a responsibility to make sure I turn my life around and, follow the purpose of God, what God has to do with me. So from there on, I was seeking God. So I was praying, I was in Bible study, I was going from churches to churches. I wanted to make sure that, I find a church that...
You got the right stuff.
Yeah, relatable. And then in the process, I went to a church that was prophesying. Of course, there's a lot of miracles there, and you're seeking God. You want an encounter. You want a deeper relationship. And I received an impartation a particular day that I went to church. And as I was on the floor, I felt all kinds of sorts of strength that was entering my body. And ever since then, I've never been the same. I felt drunk in the process. My body was warm, heating up. I knew there was something that enters my body that wasn't supposed to be there. And ever since then, my life has been tormented. I will sleep. I will wake up in the middle of the night. They will wake me up. They'll pull my body up. That was a form of the tormenting. They'll pull my body up, and then they'll take me to the mirror. So I will have to look at the mirror, and I would have to look at them and see the expression.
This is in a dream or physically?
No, this is physically. Physically.
You will physically get up in the night and move towards a mirror.
Yes, and I will see the faces through my face. I will see the form of the demon through my face, and they'll talk to me that way.
You mentioned there was 1,000 demons.
Yes.
I had 1,000 demons. How do you quantify that?
It's legions. Usually the legions are a minimum of 3,000 all the way up to 10,000. So as I go to different churches, they're powerful men of God. They're able to tell. The amount of demons depends on the strength of the forces of how they have to cast those demons out. They'll be able to tell. And as for me, it takes hours for my deliverance. It takes hours for them to cast out demons. You cast one, another one comes because they're connected with their strings, connected together. So when one comes out, now you have to fight for the other one to come out. It depends on how strong they are or stubborn they are. Requires a certain amount of prayer in casting them out.
Your take. You've heard this story before. Folks, Jimmy has actually interviewed Vanessa before. Hearing it all over again, what's your take? Give me some insights.
I went through the whole process. I saw the whole process. And in digging, I understood how it all came. It's not just what it looks like. There's a lot of moving parts to this. The one thing that she didn't mention, she wanted fame. And she wanted fame. She went to see a witch doctor to get more points to get fame. Hey, make more people see me, make me famous. All this connects you to Illuminati.
That's when she was getting into the music and you wanted to get to the next level. Correct. Yes.
And so there is that goes on, and then there's the jealousy of the family, and then there's, at one point I believe they wanted to turn her into a zombie, just take advantage of her body. Her soul is cast out of her body, and that's what they usually call unconscious witchcraft. They could literally take your physical body and put any spirit in there and then operate as you, but your soul is not there. And so these things happen during your dreams. You're being trained underwater. You have no idea what's happening in your life in real, but those things are happening. And as you grow older, you find yourself tapping into things, and you know things that you don't know how you know them. Or you touch people and you do things to them, but you have no idea what you're doing to them. And I could see how it happened for me. I did Reiki at some point, and I thought I was healing people, but in doing Reiki, I was opening up third eyes, and in a second, people would see dead people instantly. And I don't know how did it happen. I'm thinking I'm healing my mom, and some angel is taking her and flying her away, and she's like, Jimmy, I just felt like I was flying somewhere, and something pulled me back in. And that's when I started, and around that point, that's when I decided to look to see Christ, and I realized all these things, symbols, this is the new age witchcraft where, we don't really know what's happening. The God of light is trying to pretend to be as God, and we think we're going in the right direction. We have horoscopes that plant spirits in us saying, hey, this is this type of behavior that this type of person has. You agreeing with this is coming into agreement for that spirit to operate in your life. And so those feelings, those emotions, usually are spirits. And what you're going to find is you have all these little demons, all these little spirits, and then you have the principality that sits on top. So she's got these millions of demons. She's got these principalities that sit. And now you got to get rid of all these different things. So she went through this whole process, and throughout, throughout the conversations, throughout the different people helping, the different people healing, we just find out that there's so many things that needs to be broken. There's the sexual confidence, the renouncing to that. Then there's, what people have said about you. And then there's, the altar that was put there. And then there's that other altar underwater. When I started fasting and praying, I saw my daughter underwater in a mirror with her date of birth on there. I had no idea what that meant. I said, God, what does that mean? Like, explain to me what this is. And he revealed the very next day a video where some marine spirits, which are mermaids, and I'm going to get into that topic. I think a lot of people are not familiar with it. They do these things on the water to control, to literally monitor your entire life, and they plant holes, spiritual holes in your life to try to take you away from your destiny, from your purpose. And we're not aware of these things. And so Vanessa went through a lot of these things. They'll put a mask on her to make her look older, or they'll put, a scent on her to make people run away from her. There's all these different things that are added on. And the more you make a step forward, they're trying to pull you 7 times backwards. In her case, every time she got delivered, the Bible says that, the spirit goes into the wilderness and comes back 7 times stronger. And so every time they remove 1,000, there will be 7,000 coming back. Every time they remove 7,000, you multiply that by 7, it's 48,000. And it just kept piling up and piling up, and it was just harder and harder. Because somehow there was still something powering. There was an altar powering. There was something that was not destroyed. There was something that was not renounced. There was a forgiveness that was not given. And when all that stuff happened, that's when...
I'm glad you said that, because I tell you what, Vanessa, let me be frank with you. I had 2 calls this morning when I put out the thing. I wish I'd put it out a little longer, because I see people are climbing on it right now. Can you imagine if we get it like a week notice? Yeah. Somebody clearly asked me, you going to have her bring her in the studio? How do you know that she's cleansed from all of these demons? You said it like as soon as you have one done. But I said to myself, first of all, 2 things I remember clearly. When you walk through your door in the morning, even if you live alone, you don't know which demon you walk up to.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's a situation you do.
Right.
I remember my ex-wife was upset with me once, and she probably watching and she probably smiling now because we're looking back. My daughter Natalie, when she was about 12, every time there was an altar call, she would run up to the altar. And one day she ran up to the altar, and this lady just jumped up to her seat and was putting her hands on my daughter. And something, don't ask me if it's intuition, because again, I tell people I've worked with juvenile delinquent kids. My background is education and juvenile. I do at-risk studies and so for post-grad studies in behavior modification. So I even know delinquent behavior when it's my own behavior, delinquent behavior. And something just hit me that this woman is up there for all the wrong reasons. And I just went up there and grabbed my kid and dragged her back, and my wife was upset because she thought I'm embarrassing the woman. But I just don't believe anybody put hands on you is a good thing. And like you're saying, you're even saying yourself, sometimes you got involved in this thing and you're putting your hands on this, but something else is happening. You're imparting something else. So one has to be very careful about, we make judgment about people. So I told them, no, this is something that people need to hear, and it's a good thing. I also believe, Jimmy, when he told me that you are a new creature, and all things are passed away and all things are new, and people need to know that. People out there who are struggling with all kind of issue need to understand that there is a God, and that no matter what you're going through and have been through, that he can actually make a way.
Yes.
There's someone who had a statement here. She said she wanted to ask a question. Tracy and Clark. Hey, Tracy, thanks for being a very valuable member of our little group that we have. She says, just asking, I know people take on demonic forces in different ways. Some ingest things, some engage in witchcraft, etc. But what I'm hearing is that your music had a demonic force behind it because you did it, and or that jealous people tried to stop you in your career. So she want to know, is it because demonic because you were involved in it, or because people just didn't like to see you move forward?
It was pretty much all of it, because once I entered the music scene, as innocent as I was automatically open to the demonic forces of being used by them to carry their agenda. Apart from that, you do still have people that you deal with, and I was just neutral, and I had no protection, and of course I was not under godly protection because I was not within his path. So I was open to any arrows that could be thrown at me. But of course, you're gonna have, when you have a raw talent, you're gonna have people that strikes you, and if they see an open door, they're gonna take advantage of it. And this is where it was used, even though I was being used by demonic forces, but still, the door was open for anyone to strike me at that point.
And Jennifer Malcolm, I'm not sure where Jennifer is going. Jennifer says, I respect for her experience, but I do not believe or practice witchcraft. The power of good and evil does not exist in the world. Does exist the world. I just choose to do, just choose good.
The mind is powerful.
The mind is powerful. So she's almost alluding then that is something in your mind, and that because you allow your mind to drift that way. Don't answer that. Let me see what Jimmy thinks about that. Jennifer Malcolm is saying, listen man, you and Jimmy are audio up here. It's a mind game because it's good that evil does exist, but it's all about your mind.
So I used to think the same way, right? If I don't know, it can't affect me. That was my thought process. You know, I don't know about it. I don't believe it. It's not going to affect me. So when I was younger, I don't remember what was going on. I think I was going through a bad divorce, and my ex is from Africa, and there were a lot of voodoo things that were going on. You know, I remember I wanted to pull off my arm at one point. I went from making 10 grand a month to barely $200 a month. So I knew something was wrong. You know, especially while I'm going through divorce and spending $50,000 on attorney's fees. But so my mom told me to come back to the island, and you know I needed to do some baths and some washes, whatever. And so she took me to this guy in the mountains, which was connected to a very powerful principality in Haiti. And you know, he would sit there, and you give him $50, and the spirit comes inside of him, and he starts talking to you and traveling to your house and telling you everything that's happening in your life and whatnot. And you know, he says, you know, come Saturday, we're dressed up in white. We're gonna go by the water, and you're gonna make your demands, your petitions, and a mermaid is gonna come out, and she's gonna grant you anything you want. And so, you know, I'm like, okay, well, I'm young. I don't know much about these things. I'm brand new to it. I'm gonna see and check out a mermaid. I've never seen one before. So I end up going to the water, and you know, he's like, yeah, you're gonna see her. So the water is a little agitated. And as I step in, this whole area just calms. The water is just super calm. And then I see all these little, it's like you're gonna see those little sparkles of light. So of course there were sparkles of light. Now, if he influenced me as hypnosis to believe that I saw sparkles, maybe that's what it was. But there were sparkles there, and they were all over the water. And I kept looking for the mermaid, but I couldn't see her. Anyways, well, my life was fine. You know, the divorce thing worked out in not as bad as it could have, but you know, we still were able to kind of have joint custody in the process. And, you know, my life was pretty good. That's what I believed. But years later, as I get into a deliverance church, I'm finding out that I'm married to Mami Wata, which is marine spirit. Now I have this marine spirit that is influencing my life, breaking marriages, married, divorced 3 times. You know, I'm all kind of sexual immoralities. I'm out there in the world doing all kind of crazy stuff. And a lot of these things are because there's a spirit that is responsible for it. And you're not quite aware of it. You don't really know what's happening in your life. You don't know why this is happening. You don't know why this person is connecting with you. You don't know why you have a soul tie that you can't detach from. And so when you find out, well, Spirit says she's been with you for 7 years. And that's the Spirit talking to the pastor now while she's doing deliverance. I'm not aware. I didn't even know that I had that. I didn't even know I was married. I didn't even know that my going to the water was a ritual that was done that created a whole lot of
Whole lot of
chaos
stuff in your life.
in my life, right? And how it affects my kids. And so how it transfers down to my kids, how it transfers to people, how it connects to another person. So there's so many moving parts and connections. And so I would like to believe that it's not true. But from my experience, whether you know it, you don't know it, their goal is to affect your life. And you will know in your life, whether you're walking the right path or the wrong path. And if you're having a hard time, you're dealing with strongholds, you're dealing with situations that seem impossible to deal with, and only God could help you, then you will realize when those things go away, when they're cast out, that, well, there was indeed a mermaid spirit. Because,
so in other words,
because when it went away, now I started having dreams. Now I'm having dreams of mermaids coming in my dreams. I'm having mermaids trying to reach me. I have mermaids talking to me or talking to people around and saying things to them to try to connect with me. I have them in my house where they have to be cast out. I see my dog watching them, seeing them, following them in the house, like those type of things. And it's like, okay, how do I know that there's something in my house? My dog barks. Okay, if there's something in my house, move to the right. My dog follows the move to the right and barks there. I'm like, okay, well, there must be something in my house. And for the pastor to say, well, you got a mermaid in your house. Okay, what mermaid is that? Oh, Mami Wata, long dark hair. She's been with you for 7 years. Okay, so that is probably true. That might be real, And yes, my life did take a turn. And now this is where it gets crazy. When you find God, everything that you got from them, God is stripping it away from you. So you go to this desert. He doesn't want you to have nothing that they gave you. And
so whatever you thought you got in the world or through them, essentially you have to, it's stripped away.
If you're going to go to God, He does not want you to have it.
All things are new and everything
He doesn't
you
want you to
bring
keep
with you from that has to go away.
Exactly. So now, you were attached to some things. And then you didn't believe it, but it happened. And if we go deeper and we connect the dots to other things, other people, and what people could actually see in the spiritual realm, because they could see those things. They will walk on their way, and the Spirit will say, I'm not going anywhere. I'm married. I have a covenant with him. I have a contract with him. You got to renounce. You got to give him restraining orders. You got to do all these stuff in the spiritual realm, in the court of God. And they don't teach us those things.
Yeah.
I have to interject because that thought resonate with me because regardless of what you had before, some things you had in the world, and it was nice, it was good. And I'm not talking about some of I'm not even talking about the money and stuff, but some of the connections and so forth, and some of the luxuries that you were afforded in the world. Once once you are God-centered, I can imagine a lot of that has to be stripped. And part of the reason why that is stripped is what you're saying, because they were given to you in some kind of way, demonic or which other way, or ill-gotten, if I should, to appease some people who don't believe in demons, ill-gotten, that it cannot come into the kingdom. I cannot work. I have two people on Moments. Moments says, for example, Julia T. Davis is saying that belief kills and belief cures. There is a thing called sleep paralysis. Some people don't wake up from it. Juliet, I'm not sure what you're trying to say, if this is referencing to what Vanessa said while she got up on sleepwalk. You may think that's not true. Right. But I do believe that there is that there's some truth in it. Because some of us have some things in our lives that we can't seem to get past. We consciously know that it exists, but we can't get past it. And so I just want us to think about whether or not, call it demons, call it whatever, but it's something that has to be stripped away from us. Stripped away, So any thoughts on that?
As far as what their belief is, I mean, I understand it coming from the perspective because I myself used to think that way myself. So going through my experience, it led me to change my mindset because the experience is brutal, and the reality, you tend to face the reality, you see it for what it is. So it's what you thought all along, all your life, it becomes unreal, So I think to me that was very important to share that with you guys, that experience, it's experience, and this was my experience and what I had to deal with. And I had a good life prior to that. I didn't have a problem. I thought it was the right thing. I was living my life, and until when I chose to be in a godly path, and then all of a sudden I'm being tormented. All these things happen. So
Vanessa,
no coincidence.
real quick, you mentioned being taken to the mirror and communicating with these demons. What were some of the things that they were telling you, or how did that communication go?
It was pretty much to instill fear, because I chose a path that they didn't want, and I deter them from whatever their agenda was to get souls. You know, they wanted to make an example and a mockery out of me. So that was through me being tormented, and them having me go to the lack of sleep, you know, every 3 o'clock in the morning, and making sure that, you know what, you're not going to get past through this. That was their message. You're not going to get past through this. It's going to be hard for you. So you either give up now or you die. So that was the fear that was being instilled in me. And yeah, that was the message.
And Juliet, Beverly Ruddock, she is one of my Kiwani's family members. And she's watching. Hey, Beverly, I know you said you come on late, but you're there listening, and you have this, you have what I consider a very good thought on the whole subject. She says, "Good evening, folks. Interesting conversation indeed. I joined a little bit late, but remind me, did she say she opted to get involved in the dark world because she wanted to become successful in the music world? Was that what she initially introduced her to demons then?"
In the beginning, that wasn't the case, because I went into the music scene neutral and just wanted to do certain things. However, when I was striked in the music scene, and everything that was sending at me, and I was extremely ill. And that means that every connection I had at the time, music, everything falls down. So me seeking a medium, me going to a voodoo priest and trying to get healing, and they were able to tell me all the things that were going wrong in my life, where I was being striked. I was being striked when it comes to my music. I lost all my connections, so I wasn't able to do music at all. All my luck was taken away from me. My star was stolen from me. So how do you retrieve these things? Well, okay, there are certain rituals we can do in order for you to get those things back. What belongs to you, we can retrieve those. And that's where I end up taking the points. Of course, the points was to retrieve my luck, to make sure that
Explain that. I'm not so sure when you say take your points, what that means.
The points it's a ritual that they do where your natural luck comes back, and your star comes back to its natural state.
Tell us about that ritual.
To my experience, the one that I had, basically they just bathed me with some sort of powder and liquid, and then there was a prayer that was recited from the Bible mixed with some other languages from the priest. And from there on, I do believe that they call on spirits to activate the power that does release that luck or the star.
You actually believe that, or did you think that was actually working?
That's what happened, and it actually worked. It actually did work.
I want to there's a term that I've heard. I don't know much about it. Illuminati. What is it called?
Illuminati?
Yes. And it was subscribed to people like Jay-Z and Beyonce because it's something like the underworld, the dark world, to get them to success. Is that the same thing?
Every industry has a system.
Seriously.
Yes. But I may not be able to go.
And I see Brian over there shaking his head, and I'm like, I'm trying not to get there because I didn't want to get that deep.
Sensitive.
But I just want to look, first of all, folks, Brian and Kevin. Kevin, say hi to the folks. People here already. Kevin from Kevin Stew. Go on, Kevin.
Greetings and salutations, one and all.
Yeah, as Kevin is here, Paula had the night off for Kevin and Brian. Brian is an accomplished musician, writer, rapper, everything. He's been in the business himself, and he is nothing else. He's shaking his head and saying, yes, she right. And I'm like, give me a break. I am trying to go make a music. I got a beat. I think I can make money from the beat. I can. Very simple. I go into it, and
neutral.
I'm neutral. I'm trying to get somebody to listen to my mixtape, and you're gonna give me a deal, and I'm gonna blow up. And you're telling me there's a demon side into that.
Absolutely.
And
They'll come
There's also
they'll come
price.
right at you.
they come
There
right
also-
at
They'll
you.
come
There's
right
always
at
a
you. They'll give it
price.
to you. You don't need to know how to sing. You don't need to know how to have a voice. They'll make you famous.
Yeah.
You'll say the right thing. It'll influence the right person. The people that need to be connected will be connected. It's gonna
Yeah.
listen. That song's gonna look for that one person that is supposed to do great things for God to mess him up.
Here,
Let me ask a question because I see Brian shaking his head, and he has made beats for some of the best people around town. Explain it. Give him the mic, Kevin.
Let's go, Brian.
Go Brian.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. No, that's it's very much factual. You can be the most talented person in your circle, in your community, in your group, and you still won't make it. There's a whole lot more. When they say there's politics involved, like that's the general term. There's politics.
It's beyond just politics.
Yeah.
So this
package.
It's a package. Oh Jesus! It's a package. So this. I never thought of it like that.
It goes deep, man. They have people sleeping with corpses. They got
Yeah, it's a
parties,
lot of,
sex, dogs, animals.
initiations.
It goes.
And
It
levels.
goes.
Literal initiation.
They have to go through the process together.
So you're telling me then, if get me to understand this then, in that arena, you're telling me that, and folks, if you came in earlier, would have seen her tape. She's not some little mixtape person. She's an accomplished singer with videos. I mean,
disrespect to the mixtapers.
no disrespect to the mixtape. Kevin says no disrespect to the mixtapers, but she's the next level. And when she's saying now that there is a ritual at that level, I find that truly scary. Juliet says fear will control your mind and lead you into the why in the middle of the road. You have to decide where to go. I guess Juliet is saying, Juliet is on the fence saying,
I feel her.
I know what you're talking about.
Let me explain
We're
something.
with you, Julia.
Let me explain something.
Yeah.
If your father, grandfather, and your ancestors, there's a lineage of people that are involved already on the dark side.
Yeah.
By default, first sons, you're likely to be initiated in your sleep. You're likely to be initiated to become one of those people. And unless you find God, unless you break that covenant, unless you're the one that break the generational curse, this is going to continue in your generation. God is eventually going to appoint somebody, the youngest son, to maybe break free, but you don't have to believe it. You don't have to think you know nothing. These things are going to happen to you. You're not going to know. Yeah, a lot of people in Haiti, they're demon possessed just because the two spirits, the two principalities that freed Haiti had them drink pig blood. They have control over that spirit is present in every one of their lives. You will cast that same demon out of thousands of Haitians, and they believe in God and they have Christ and all that stuff.
because there is something in the Bible that somebody got cursed, and the curse went down to generations.
It's
So then,
generations.
that's unfair to us then. I'm being real. So how do you, for example, you're being here today and you have chosen a different path. And somebody asked me earlier today, how we know that the demons are not still on you? How do you know that?
Well, for me, it's the sensations. I know that when they're there, there's different twitching. There's different way that I think. Even with the visions and how I move, I'm more aware because I'm now
Sensitive.
Yes, sensitive. So I'm more discerning now to understand how the spiritual realm works and how these demons work through people. And there's a way that they operate. So it's just a matter of being aware and understanding and being discerning, in which the Holy Spirit will provide that for you.
So in other words, your recommendation, I want you to look into that camera before we move to the next level. I want you to talk to some young person who is struggling. They want to be successful. They want to be in. Because you're not saying the music business is bad. You're not necessarily there. I want you to look in that camera. I want you to talk to somebody who is trying to make a success in a gift that they think that they know they have.
They have,
Because it's God-given gift. It can't be taken away. You guys will sing. She'll be singing for us shortly, so don't go away. But my thing is, how do you talk to that young person? Tell them the kind of mindset they need to have.
If you want to be successful and you have a drive for music, for your passion, I'm not against that. Go for it. However, your moral have to be stable. You have to know what you're willing to do and what you're not willing to do, how far you're willing to go and how far you're not willing to go. And that's all going to dictate how far and how deep and what level you're going to be in terms of position within certain music industry. So your moral have to be stable, and you have to have God and the fear of God in you. And with the fear of God, the reverence of God, that could allow you to do a lot of stuff that you know, it could prevent you from doing a lot of things. So make sure your morals is stable.
Because there are a lot of people out there who just basically figure, I can do me.
Yes, some people go in, you know what, I just want the music, I just want to be famous, and they'll provide a package. You go into a room, they provide a package of how you, the artist, is supposed to look like, and all you have to do is sign this paper. But once you do sign that paper, you're giving your life away, and how you give your life away, how you give your soul away is they tell you what to wear, they tell you how to talk, they tell you what to eat, they tell you the days you're off, they tell you the days that you're not off, you can't see your family. You know, these are a lot of things that are taken away from you. So you got to take these things into consideration. And a lot of new artists don't know these things. And they just go in with the thought of, I just want to be famous. But it takes a lot more to be famous.
I want, just before you transition into singing the gospel, Kevin, take us back to that video when she is doing what she did in the past. The same, the hip hop, yes. For some of you who have been, you came in late, like Miss Reddock, who came in late. Give her a little sample of what that was and where the young lady is today. Okay, folks, so just giving you a little idea of the kind of a quality of an artist, not the kind of a, straight up the quality of an artist she is in the world. And I have just been reminded that I've kept it safe. And even some of the folks who are asking, because some of the folks are asking some questions. But Sonia Lynn is just want to make it clear. She says, Samaya Fiddle says, wow, this is so real. And we've just checked it. We may have to have a round two of this, because honestly, folks, I've been checking it, keeping it PG, trying to keep it a little bit
PG-13.
PG-13, keeping it a little bit, but people are going to it. And Sonia Lynn, so we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against spiritual, against principalities and power of darkness and the rulers of darkness of this world, against spiritual witnesses in high places. So, folks, Nancy Brown, so is Voodoo cast on Jamaica. That is why we're having these challenges. Grown men sitting down having his discussion. She says, grown men sitting down having discussions. I don't know what that was. And then somebody says, actually, Red Fox said female Jamaican DJ spoke about this the other day. Spice, Lady Soul, they mentioned voodoo against one another. So you guys figure it's maybe just not in one place. It's all over the place. Jamaican major DJs have done that against each other to deliberately get against each other. Julian Lee says, would you then say that every successful singer is on the dark side, or is there some that did succumb to the demons? What would you say? That's a good question, Julian Lee.
Yes. I can't say 100% everyone who's successful is on the dark side. However, I can tell you that majority are, because the system, the music system, is controlled by a force, a demonic force. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so everything is controlled.
So she's not, in other words, you're not saying that is something that is, but if you say that, if you say that, it's almost like you're saying everybody has to be submitted to that.
Not necessarily everyone has to submit to that. However, the ones that don't submit to that, it's a challenging journey for them. Whereas the easiest path for those who do submit to that, it makes it easy for them to achieve the fame in a short amount of time. which is what every artist's dreams is I want the fame.
And I'm going back to Nancy Brown that doesn't seem to understand what we're... Actually, we don't need to respond to Nancy because she is on another level. She had something else to say. Quite a few people are watching. Nancy, we're not saying that everybody is in the same place. We're saying sometimes you need to watch yourself because some of the things you struggle with is beyond just your natural and your daily understanding.
Quick interjection. Kind of going to the point of whether or not everybody is actually on the dark side. It goes back to what you were saying earlier, whereas people are involved in activities that they don't understand what they're involved in and what they're signing. So they go in with a perception as if I'm not doing this, I'm not doing that, but you've already done it, not knowing
that you did it.
You're an agent, not knowing.
You're an agent.
So that's pretty much where it ties in.
Yes, that's true.
Maya Fiddles, or I can't, if I'm pronouncing the name wrong, just correct me, says, a gentleman came into my business place and said to me, lady, if you do not do voodoo, you ain't going to make any money. I told him, unless God never raised from the dead. In other words, she wasn't going to do it anyway.
Right.
But in other words, people are literally going around nowadays and telling people that they can make, like you said, they can make you rich. What of you?
Of course.
This discussion can continue on and on, but I am glad one thing, that through it all, you sought the right counsel, the right counsel in God, and you are here today. If you would have one last word of deliverance to somebody who is struggling at this time, what would you tell them?
I would tell them to keep up the faith and believe in your God. The same God he was yesterday is the same God he is today and forevermore. So stick to the word of God and apply it every day, and believe in him that he will deliver you, and he will deliver you and bring you to his kingdom.
I am proud that you have found that happy medium in God.
Yes.
And the fact that you are able to be an example to people as to where to go. And as far as I'm concerned, the best for you is yet to come.
Absolutely.
The yet to come. Kevin, if somebody can just reach her the mic, I think I would love her to just bless us with a little bit of music.
Absolutely.
I guess you'd have to stay from that angle where you are and just sing us through.
I can just sit there?
Just sing us through probably a few verses of the song.
Okay.
And you guys cue the song for me. Let us know when you're ready.
Okay.
Ryan, are you there?
Yep, all ready.
And the sound is on into the house.
Check 1, 2. I've had my share of ups and downs, times when there was no one around. God came and spoke his words to me. Praise will confuse the enemy. I've had my share of ups and downs.
Yes, Lord.
Times when there was no one around. God came and spoke his words to me. Praise will confuse the enemy. So I started singing, I started clapping, I started dancing, and people were laughing, 'cause they knew my problem and they know my pain. But I knew God will take them away. Oh, yeah. One more time. I've had my share of ups and downs, times when there was no one around. God came and spoke his words to me, and praise will confuse the enemy. And that's why I sing with this song when times are right and when they're wrong. He's given me a second chance, so come on and praise him in advance. That's why I praise him with the song when times are right and when they're wrong. He's given me a second chance, so come on and praise him in heavens. Praise him, oh praise him, come on praise him. He's given me a second chance, so come on and praise him in heaven. Oh yeah.
Yes. Listen, man. Wow. Guys, you're slow on the draw. I gotta tell you, come on, man. Listen, this is there's a certain amount of catharsis when you sing. Of all we talked about, some joker actually said we had nothing better to talk about today than because we're talking about this.
Of course.
But people don't understand the process of what people go to. And so we had somebody else to come to talk about something else different today, and we actually kind of bypassed it to get here. Kevin, turn on the white camera for me, please. I'm sorry, folks. I got to do this in real time because I really want to just be thankful for what we have here to do. Because Jimmy came in last week and we talked about some stuff. We talk about men's health and we talk about nutrition and so forth. And we're going to deal with that. But we had somebody else to come in and did something else. And because of just the amount of the vibes that was here, it was inappropriate to discuss that. But I'm going to give people a second chance to hear you again. So I'm going to ask these guys to cue it if I have to go and set that, a little bit details on that. But listen, last week, Jimmy, you were here. We talked about men's health and wellness and just wellness. And so we came up with a challenge. And I'm going to help you out. I call it, and Jimmy, correct me if I'm wrong here. And folks, stay with me because we're going right back to give you a second chance for them to hear you. But I want to talk about fitness. And folks, I did take I turned sideways and took a picture of myself, and I wasn't the happiest person. I was the happiest person. So July's coming up. And so I call this fitness challenge Beach Body August. So by 1st of August, we all of us got with a pot belly and so forth, and some of you want to lose a couple of pounds. We're gonna take a challenge, and guess what? I am offering. You see this? It's called the ISO Tea. This will allow you to lose 5 pounds in 5 days. Your audience seem to know it better than me. Kevin is there telling everybody. 5 pounds in 5 days. Let me tell you something, man. You see all this thing about magnesium nitrate and all them chemical? This is all tea. Kevin, give me a close up here, man. Come on. This is all tea, folks. Nothing that is going to be chemical, what have you. It's going to make you give you a reason. I started taking it, I tell you. And honestly, my pants is a different size in terms of just the looseness. It has given me the need to go exercise. And so I want to make that challenge. And guess what? This thing costs money. But Jimmy has given us the opportunity you just need to text us in and you'll get, each one of these things has a week's supply. Is it right, Jimmy? A week supply.
The instant. So we have 2 versions. We have the brewed version, which is a week, and this one is for about 4 days.
About 4 days.
2 to 4 days.
And so this is something that we are giving away free. that can jumpstart your beach body for the holidays. So, Jimmy, I'm going to pass this on to you. I'm going to tell you exactly. You've worked out something where we can. I don't know if whose information they need to plug in to get it, but talk to us about that.
Definitely. So the way we have it is you would go to Juliet's page, Juliet Peter King. It's Juliet.Peter-King. And right on the Instagram, there's a link. It's a link tree. And you'll click on this link tree, and you'll be able to fill out a form where you put your information, name, email, address, and we'll be able to mail you one of these. And if you're local, you live in Florida, you want to pass by the studio, I'm not sure if Luke is okay with that, but we could probably give it to you. But we'll ship this out to you if you fill out the form. So just go to the website, Juliet.Peter-King on Instagram. Mine is Jimmy Hepburn on Instagram, and right on the top it says free tea. Just fill out the form, and we'll be more than happy to send this to you. What we're going to do is a challenge where first you're going to try this and see how it works for you. And if you're interested in buying the packages that allows you to really gain more weight within 30 days, we'll have prizes. You know, it could be different prizes, either free products or possibly, I'm not sure if you want to do cash prizes or you want to clothing lines or you want to offer, products to people, or we could take some and donate, however it works. But we want to be able to offer you guys some type of reward for winning the prize. Could be a conversation with you at the studio. We'll figure something out and announce it. And for those of you guys that win the prize. And so just go online to Instagram, Juliet.Peter-King or Jimmy Hepburn, and then fill out the form.
Spell it out for them for me, please. For somebody more like me, just spell it out for them, please.
So Jimmy, JIMMYHEPBURN. That's my Instagram.
And Juliet?
JULIET.PETERKIN.
Once more, just so that they'll miss it. Folks, you can't miss this. Go ahead.
JULIET.PETERKIN for Instagram.
So, folks, that's for the physical. This was an awesome show today. I really felt it. Like the lady says, we wrestle not with flesh and blood, but principalities. Sometimes you need to check your spirit. For me, honestly, the older I get, I realize I oftentimes have to rid myself of people and places that vex my spirit. And I think I have a good feel of what my spirit or what wholesome is as a child of God myself. And when there are certain things that are going contrary to sound gospel or, as I say, vex my spirit, and we all have to we have to know how to separate ourselves. And so it's that cleansing that we do. And so this month we're doing cleansing in terms of physical, mental, and just spiritual cleansing.
Nice.
Vanessa, I am so happy. I hope you guys have cued her again. Okay? Yeah. Because listen, folks, you've been the best part of Bar Talk, and I want to take out the last memory of Bar Talk for this Sunday. Actually, it's the last Sunday. Is it? Or next week, is it?
I think it's the last Sunday.
The last Sunday in July. I want you to remember this young lady. So, guys, from me, thank you for being the best of Bar Talk. We're going to take it over to Vanessa, and you guys tell me when you're ready, and make it happen, guys. Sound check.
Mic check 1 2. Mic check 1 2. Okay. I had my share of ups and downs, times when there was no one around. God came and spoke his words to me. Praise will confuse the enemy. I've had my share of ups and downs, times when there was no one around. God came and spoke his words to me, and praise will confuse the enemy. So I started singing, I started clapping, I started dancing, and people were laughing, 'cause they knew my problem and they know my pain. But I knew God will take them away. Oh, yeah. One more time. I've had my share of ups and downs, times when there was no one around. God came and spoke his words to me. Praise will confuse the enemy, and that's why I sing him with the song. When times are right and when they're wrong, he's given me a second chance. So come on and praise him in advance. That's why I'm singing again the song. When times are right and when they're wrong, he's given me a second chance. So come on and praise him in advance. Praise him, ooh, praise him, praise him. He's given me a second chance. So come on and praise him in heaven. Oh.
And we're out.